Namaste, I am Dr. Amit. Welcome to my YouTube channel at the rate Dr. Amit Official. In our last video, we talked about development of heart. Now, from our cardiovascular series, now we'll continue our lecture on development of heart, and today we'll talk about septation of chamber. So, to understand the septation of atrial chamber, we must understand these figures. Okay. So now we'll understand these figures one by one. So let's first focus on this figure. Okay. So this is right atrium, this is left atrium. Okay. And this is our developing heart. Okay. So in first, okay, we see this green line. Okay, this is septum primum. Okay, septum means something is separating two things. Okay, so this is septum primum, this green line. Okay, and this part, okay, this is atrium part, this is ventricle part. So in between them there is a cushion called as endocardial cushion. Okay, so this is right atrium, this is left atrium, this is a septum called septum primum because it's developing first. Now this space between these two is called as ostium primum. Ostium means a opening. Okay, so this opening is called ostium primum. Okay, so this is about this figure. Now we'll understand the second figure. Now in the second figure, we can see that this is septum primum. Okay, now this septum primum is coming down. Okay, and while coming down, in between it regress. Okay, so there has been one new opening. Okay, and this opening is now called as ostium secundum. Okay, the first opening is called ostium primum, but now a new opening has been formed in this septum primum. This is called ostium secundum. Okay, the ostium primum is below. Okay, this is below. This red is ostium primum, but this new opening is called ostium secundum. Okay, and this is endocardial cushion. Okay, this okay. Now and this green line is septum primum. Now let's understand this third figure. Okay, now you can see this adjacent to this septum primum we have a new blue line. Okay, this is called septum secundum. Okay, because it's developing after primum, so we named it as a septum secundum. Okay, and the opening is same, that is ostium secundum, which we have seen in the second figure. Okay, and this septum primum which has not touched the endocardial cushion now touched the endocardial cushion and become the septum primum. Okay, so this green both is septum primum and the space between them is ostium secundum, and this adjacent to septum primum is septum secundum. Okay, now see, now this septum primum is not developing. Okay, it is regressing. Okay, but this septum secundum is developing now and coming downward. Okay, and this septum primum has already been developed. Okay, now the space between them, this ostium secundum space has become small. Now we are calling it as a foramen oval. Okay, this foramen oval. Okay, so this is septum secundum, this is also septum secundum blue from downwards coming, and this is septum primum, and the above septum primum is now regressed, and this opening is now new name is foramen oval. Fine. Now we'll understand the last figure. Okay, in this figure we can see that this is septum secundum. Now this foramen oval is becoming more small. Okay, and this is septum primum, because it's forming in first. Okay, and the ostium secundum is now becoming closed by this. Okay, now this only the foramen oval is open. Okay, now if this foramen oval, actually this opening actually closes after birth, otherwise the blood from right atrium will go to left atrium. Okay, so after birth this foramen get closed. Okay, but if it not closed, then a condition come, we call it as a patent foramen oval. Okay, now we'll see our notes. So in our notes the same thing is written what we have discussed in the figure. Okay, now we'll correlate both. Okay, septum primum, this green part, grows towards endocardial cushion, coming down towards endocardial cushion, and narrowing ostium primum. This first opening it getting smaller. Now the second is ostium secundum, forms in septum primum due to cell death. Okay, this is ostium secundum. Okay, so in first the opening is ostium primum. Now ostium secundum, the ostium secundum forms where? In septum primum. In septum primum the ostium secundum form. How? Because of cell death. Some cell death occur, and this opening is now called as ostium secundum. Clear? Now the third thing is septum secundum. Okay, now we'll see this. here. The third thing is septum secundum. What's saying? Develops on the right side of septum primum. Okay, this is septum primum. Now on the right side, septum secundum has been developed. This blue part. Okay, as ostium secundum maintains right to left shunt. Now this opening is ostium secundum, which we have discussed in the second line, right? Now third thing is septum secundum expands and cover most of the ostium secundum. Okay, so this septum secundum now coming downward, it means it's developing and it's closing most of the ostium secundum, this opening. Okay, this opening is getting mostly closed. Okay, now remaining portion of septum primum forms the one-way valve of the foramen oval. Okay, so now we have seen that this ostium secundum is developing, but this foramen, this is septum primum. Now this septum primum and between this septum secundum opening is present, which is called as foramen oval. Okay, so it's written here that remaining portion of septum primum forms the one-way valve called as foramen oval. Now the septum primum closes against septum secundum. Now this septum primum and this get closed. Okay, this get close over where. Okay, and this foramen oval will close. That's written here. The septum primum close against septum secundum, sealing the foramen oval soon after birth, as I have told you. Why? Because the left atrium pressure increases and right atrium pressure decreases, and that closed part is now called as fossa ovalis. Now when it closed, then over here a structure formed called as fossa ovalis. Okay, which is saucer shaped. Sometimes they ask in MCQs that what formed when foramen ovalis closed? The fossa ovalis. Okay, now what's written? Septum secundum, the blue one, and septum primum, the green one, fuse together in infancy, early childhood, or forming the atrial septum. The same thing. Now what if foramen oval will not close? So if foramen oval will not close, it means if it not close, then there is a pathway between these two, which is called as patent foramen. Why patent foramen? Because foramen oval is not closed. So what is written here? It caused by failure of septum primum, the green one, and the septum secundum, the blue one, to fuse after birth. They didn't join after birth. Okay, can lead to paradox. What happened now? Now if that pathway is not closed, then paradoxical emboli sometime formed. Okay, if embolus formed, then what will happen? Then venous thromboemboli, or entering the systemic arteries. We all know that emboli form in one place and will go to other place. So entering the systemic arterial circulations and will cause what? Atrial can also occur in atrial septal defect. Okay, because the septum between the atria is not formed. Okay, so if there is patent foramen oval, then what is the risk? If you think from clinical point of view, then there will be chance of forming paradoxical emboli. Okay, so this is all about septation of atrial chamber. Okay, I hope you understand from my lecture. So if you like this video, please subscribe my YouTube channel and share your this video with your fellow medicals, and we'll talk about septation of ventricles, okay, in the next video. Thank you for listening.